There we go. Good morning, everyone. Oh, what was that? There it is. We made it. Are you messing around with the thing?
We're live right now.
We are live right now.
Did you realize you put that live right now? That's really funny.
Yeah.
Well, good morning. Are we skipping the countdown then? We're just skipping the countdown.
No, we did down.
Oh, we did the countdown.
Oh, yeah. Started the countdown while you were jumping on.
Oh. Yeah. While I was messing around with that stuff? All right. Yeah. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Real Estate Q&A. I'm Austin Patterson, the Director of Sales on the team, and Mike Perna is our CEO. And we just got off a fresh we did an all-team advance on Tuesday. We do like a quarterly meeting. And we just did some really cool things. And the theme of that was sprint to the new year. We all wore running stuff. And we had a really cool kind of like, one of the things that we talked about was like the heroes and the glue, Mike. And Gail Remner, who's our listing coordinator, we had this like crazy scenario. I mean, this is the coolest story, right? We had this crazy scenario where we had an out-of-town seller and they sent us the wrong keys. And so Gail on a Saturday afternoon, right before the open house, like had her entire family over there. And she even has like, is it a brother-in-law or a cousin or something? Mm-hmm. It was a family member. It was a pretty close family member. She went over there and rekeyed the entire lock and got, and as a result, we had something crazy. Matter of fact, you posted a video on this. I know I shared it to my page too. So if you want to check out the bigger story, it was one of Mark Whitehead's listings, one of our agents. And if it weren't for her dedication, we would have missed out on like 15 showings for that client. So it's like above and beyond. And so shout out to her. So we got a really, Mike, we get on here every single week, but we've got a lot of glue people behind the scenes that just make the whole thing go. And so Gail was kind of our hero this week. We gave her flowers. Matter of fact, funny story, Mike. Mm-hmm. I had bought these flowers and I'd bought a bunch of like tissue paper to wrap them in. Mm-hmm. So before the meeting, I was like, I don't know how to. Do you know how to prepare flowers in tissue paper? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea. I would have rolled them up. Like I have no idea, right? So I said, "Hey, does anybody know how to get tissue paper going on flowers or to present flowers?" And Gail goes, "I can do it." And I was like, "Cool, come on over." And so she spent a good 10 minutes before the meeting that morning getting her own flowers prepared for the meeting, and she didn't even know it.
That's awesome.
But it was funny. I was kind of chuckling. It's like, well, I can't tell her, no, you can't do it, because then it would have ruined the surprise. So anyway. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know why I thought of that. We just did a cool all-team advance. And of course, we do this every single week, and we answer any real estate questions that you guys have. And so please put your questions in the chat, and we're happy to answer those. And that's what I got. So, Mike, it sounds like while we're waiting on people to put questions, it sounds like you have a bunch of stuff prepared, huh?
It has been just a crazy week in real estate news and everything else, and economic news, all of it. First thing I do want to start out with is kind of two numbers or two facts or whatever you want to call it. They kind of coincide with each other. First one is in July, or for July, the numbers are finally out for that. We had 708,000 new starts, new builds that started construction. Okay.
How many?
708,000.
Nationwide.
Yep. And
that's a big number.
That's a big number. It's the highest number it's been in almost 10 years. It's huge. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Hey, Mark.
From Naples. There we go. Now that, and I will say that directly coincides with lumber prices, which have just tumbled back to earth just in these last 45, 60 days, right? So lumber prices, as a lot of people know, I mean, we saw the memes on Facebook and all the other places, right? They had hit this like extreme high number. extreme high number. And this is a true statement of a lot of things that are going on in our economy, but it just came down to supply chain. So a lot of manufacturers, a lot of businesses, a lot of companies made the decision mistakenly to either halt or slow production of whatever products that they were working on quarters 2, 3, and 4 of last year, right? Because the figuring was economically what their economists were saying and what they're reporting them is our economy was in a free fall in quarters 1 and 2 because of the pandemic, really quarter 2, and it would take up to 4 or 5 years to recover, which was not the truth at all. Not the truth at all. We actually ended the year 4% off the previous year as far as our economy goes, as far as GDP goes. So this was not a big deal. But when you slow production and then have to ramp it back up, it's not a flip of the switch overnight thing. It takes months and quarters to get there, right? So we had this complete shortage of lumber, which caused this massive spike in prices. And we're seeing this right now with cars and computer chips and things like that. And we are getting back in line. And when I say getting back in line, I mean we are almost at pre-pandemic levels for lumber prices. And where that's showing up is if you go to Home Depot or you go to Lowe's today, and I was at Home Depot this week, there is actually lumber on the shelves, right? They're fully stocked again, right? They're where they should be. That's one thing that's happening in the market. Another thing, and I talked about this last week, guys, and it showed up exactly as predicted. You go to the pump today, our gas prices are down 20, 30 cents a gallon just over the last 2 weeks, right? And I talked about this last week, right? With the Delta variant, a lot of the economists in the East felt going into 2022, we're going to see some tumbles again with economies and GDPs and maybe some hikes in unemployment. What they've been doing is they had to go through a ramp up, right? So a couple of things happened. I talked about this last week a little bit, right? So oil production slowed down because of the pandemic. We were using 20 to 25% less oil last year versus previous years, right? In addition to that, we had that pipeline issue with the hackers and things like that. That took the pipeline offline for several days, and then they had to slowly turn that back on so as not to break the thing. So that was a month with low oil supply, and so prices shot up at the tank. Nothing to do with anything, and again, not a political statement because it had nothing to do with politics. It was just the convergence of a couple of things at the same time, right? People going on vacation, people taking road trips again, the pipeline going down, the oil not flowing from the Middle East the way that it was before. Well, the Middle East also now believes, and we talked about this last week, that the Delta variant is going to have a very negative impact on the economy in quarter 4 and quarter 1. But here's a problem. They're flush with oil. So they started dropping the oil prices to get rid of it as a sell-off. And where that shows up for us is at the pumps, right? So we saw our gas prices go down 20 cents on average per gallon just in the last 7 days, right? And we talked about that, and then it happened midweek. And oil prices are at a 2-year low, by the way. Last but not least, this is a very interesting stat. I'm going to throw this out there, and then we can start unpacking and talking about all this. From February through the end of June, 74% of homes got multiple offers. Okay. In July, that number dropped to about 50-50, and it's looking like in August, it's going to be around 40%. That's the number. That's a big tumble. That's a big shift. That's a big change. Since year, we have seen this run up in prices. I have a chart. Let me see if I can grab this. There we go. Now, how do I do a screen share?
You did it.
I did it. I made it work. All right. So Redfin, which is a national real estate brokerage, and puts a lot of great data out, just put this data out, right? So we saw this hike in prices year over year, which over here a few months ago was above 20%, but it's actually slowing. Look at this. Look at this little curve right there, right? So now we're looking at 16% year over year bump in prices, which means the prices are kind of getting back into line a little, right? We're not seeing the big run-ups that we were before. Now, even further, and this I think is good to know, previous to this, for the last 12 months, we saw somewhere in the range of 1 in 30, 1 in 35 homes require a price reduction to get in the market to sell. That number is now below 1 in 20, 1 in 19. So 1 out of every 19 homes that go on the market do not get offers, and they have to do a price adjustment or a price reduction to get the offer.
Sure.
And that's different. That's different. We haven't seen that in 2 years. So unpacking all of this, here's what I'm saying. If you're a home buyer, today's the day, now's the time, especially if you're in the FHA category or the VA category, or one of those loans that has been a little harder to get accepted these last couple of months or this last year. You were going up against a lot of cash. You were going up against a lot of 40, 50% down payments. We're not seeing that anymore. We're not. Today's the day, now's the time. We're starting to see days on market start to expand from 4 to close. If you're a seller, it doesn't mean you're not going to get a great price for your home. You will get a great price for your home, but you're not going to jump the next guy by 10%.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a time where if we put a home on the market in, let's say, February at 300,000, there's an argument that just later in May, we can get 325 for the same house. But today, that's not the case. That's honestly not the case. It doesn't mean that home values are going down because they're not. It doesn't mean that you're a seller because you're not. What it means, two things. One, you're going to get top dollar for your home, but there just might not be 6 or 7 or 8 offers. There might be 1 or 2, maybe 3. It means you have to price appropriately tight to the market, right? You can jump the next guy. You jump that previous sale in your neighborhood by maybe a couple. We're not talking thousands like we were before.
Yeah.
Right. And then third, if you're a seller and you've been waiting on the sideline to sell because you're struggling to find something, again, today's the day. Now's the time. Homes are out there. Homes are actually coming on the market at the highest level over the last 2 years. There's a lot happening in the market right now.
There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
It's
frankly, it's all needed. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's all needed stuff. I've got a few interesting thoughts there. One is you talked about home starts. So the number was 708,000?
708,000 in July.
708,000 in July nationally.
Mm-hmm.
So a big part of what's driven the run up in home prices is simply just supply and demand. There hasn't been enough homes for people to buy.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we've talked about in the past, but just to kind of bring that back into the fold, between kind of the last recession, Mike, so call it, what do you want to say, 2009, 2010, 2008, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Now, how many homes estimated did we miss that were not built because we were going through that time?
About 20 million.
20 million.
Million with an M.
Yep. About 20 million homes nationally would have been built in any other decade, and they weren't built.
Right.
Right. And so a big part of what's been driving home prices is because these homes haven't been built.
Right.
What's interesting. So we had this big run up because there was no supply. Well, home builders aren't dumb, right? They're seeing that, and they're kind of not licking their lips, but it's like you see an opportunity. It's fine. You see an opportunity to provide a service and to make money. I mean, that's what our economy does, right? And so they were previously they were a little more hesitant because of lumber prices, because of kind of the uncertainty. But and by the way, there's still some risk here with the Delta variant. Who knows where that's going to go? But like lumber prices have gone down significantly. They've almost returned to where they were, and so boom. 708,000 starts. It's the largest number since before the recession, correct? In a month?
That's right.
Okay. And so
before the other recession, like not the recession we just had that was a blip on the map for like 6 months, like the 4-year recession.
The Great Recession, the big boy, right. And so I think you're going to see some of those supply. It's still going to take time. 20 million is a big number. It's still going to take time.
Oh, it's going to take a decade.
It's going to take a decade to catch that back up. So it's like, but it's really
lumber prices.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. I mean, we're basically where we were before the pandemic.
We're right there.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, right?
Yep. I mean, and to be, and again, how this is also showing up is somebody like myself, right? I've got a rental property that I've just been kind of sitting on, and I've got another thing to talk about there. But I've got a rental property that I've been just kind of sitting on because contractors are hard to come by, and the prices of everything was just so inflated, right? But now I'm throwing a new kitchen in, I'm throwing a new bathroom in, I'm redoing the flooring and prepping that thing back to re-rent, simply because the pricing is back in line, and I can afford to do that now.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the only reason.
Yep.
Because why not? Well, actually, there's a second reason. And then the other chart that I've got. Oh, oil prices.
Yeah.
Look at that right there. The lowest since 2012.
Yeah.
Dropped 10% last week.
Yeah. Now, by the way, there's seasonality in oil prices too. A lot of folks don't know this.
Yeah.
So what you typically see with oil prices, by the way, and by the way, you can just Google, you can just look at the EPA on this. But anyway, the way oil prices, they start increasing in the spring and they usually peak out in the summer months. And then typically oil and gasoline is less expensive in the winter. A big part of that, believe it or not, Mike, I don't know if you knew this, a big part of that, the reason you see a big spike, yes, holiday travel matters, but actually they have to put, the manufacturers have to put additional additives to avoid evaporation in the summer months, and it makes gasoline prices more expensive. And so during the winter months, you don't have to put those additives, or you don't have to protect. I don't know if it's an additive, or you don't have to protect against evaporation quite as aggressively. And so you see things. So there's always seasonality anyway, but I think this is a bigger picture. I think crude oil prices are dropping. Obviously they are. You can see it right on the chart. But anyway, one of the things that we talked about previously, though, right? So kind of the bigger story that we were telling, Mike, was there wasn't enough homes, and then so home prices were increasing rapidly, and we started to see a level off because of affordability. Like at some point, people write a check every single month to their mortgage, and at some point, affordability starts to get in the way. Well, you're starting to see affordability subside in other places like gas and lumber. Now, I think you're going to see they've talked about in other places, groceries and things like that, where we might see a shortage, but it all just tells a bigger picture. And you're right. I think there's a real opportunity. Matter of fact, last week, Mike, I just got and I know this is anecdotal, but I got a $285,000 FHA accepted in Livingston County, which would have been impossible, like literally impossible 6 months ago. And we got it accepted last week. So
yeah,
I think one of the things that we've been coaching our agents, and I think I said this even last week and the week before that, I've been talking about it on the call or on this Zoom, and I've been talking about it with our agents, but it's like, if you've got clients, or if you personally are sitting on the sidelines, it's a really good time to get out and start making offers on properties. It really is. So interesting data. What else you got?
All right, here's what else I got. First off, the moratorium on evictions and foreclosures got struck down by this week. We're done. And here's how this worked, right? So you have a couple of different out there that exist in that government world that could create a moratorium. So like the federal government can do it. It can be done by executive order by the president. It can be done by Congress, either Senate or Congress, right? Or the House. This last moratorium extension was actually done by the CDC. And funny enough, come to find out, the president, the House, the Senate, none of them actually approved it. Yeah. They just went along with what the CDC said, we're extending moratoriums through October.
Yeah.
And everybody else was like, all right, we'll kind of go along with it. We won't document it. We won't actually put a bill together. We won't have an executive order, those things, but we'll just kind of go with the flow, right? Come to find out, you can't do that. The CDC is not a body or not an entity that can extend moratoriums. So that court case was just finished up this week in the Supreme Court, and they did on the moratorium. And my understanding is there will not be an extension of this going forward at all. And here's why I say that. If there was, the president would have put an executive order out immediately, right? If there was, the Senate and the House would have had some sort of chatter about this, but we're not seeing that. What we're seeing right now is everything they're talking about is about the infrastructure bill and the clean energy bills that are going through. Nobody's talking about any sort of eviction moratorium, right? So this leads me to believe that we are at the end of the road for these. Yeah. Secondarily, the part of the reason that I think that we are not going to see any sort of a moratorium extension is New York Times reported it. Guys, I talked about this last week. Austin and I have talked about this before. 89% of the funds that were supposed to be used no longer pay their rents or pay their mortgages. 89% unused. Unused. And that's a B number. That's a $11 billion that had been set aside to help tenants to pay landlords, unused. Right. And there's some mechanics behind that. So what had happened was the Treasury what had happened was
what did it see what had happened was
that's not great grammar. We'll go with it. The Treasury, so for the most part, when federal rollouts and federal programs happen, the federal government retains control. Simply put, right? Like when we got to the PPP loans, when we got to the checks coming from the government, just for general help, right? All of that came from and was marked and stamped. If you got an actual physical check, some people did, some people got a direct deposit, U.S. Treasury, right? In this singular case, and this was a huge mistake, in my opinion, they sent money down to the state level and they said, you deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And about a half a dozen states only dealt with it. Right? Like here in Michigan, and we've talked about this, the money is sitting there. We had somebody on that really needed this help. The money is sitting there in Lansing, and we can't figure out how to get to it. Most people don't know it exists. There's no marketing around this, no plan, no distribution. It literally just sat there, right? And I'm not faulting anybody. I'm not going political, just speaking to the facts of what happened. So the U.S. Treasury, now that the New York Times and Wall Street Journal and a couple other publications have picked it up and started making us think about it, because this is actually hurting people, both tenants and landlords. The U.S. Treasury is in the process, at the end of last week, this upcoming week, and the next week, of pulling all of those funds back and just saying, you know what, we're going to do it ourselves. Forget it, guys. We're going to do it ourselves. And I'm not going to sit here and say we'll get done right, but at least it will get done a little better.
We'll do something, sure.
A little better than 11%.
Yeah.
You can't get much worse than where it's at.
My understanding, Mike, is they made it pretty hard for that money was really set aside for really low income. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It just made it if you had a rental for $2,000 in Clawson, it's like you couldn't get access to that money.
You had no access. Yeah.
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 What are you going to do with your rentals? What are you doing?
What's that?
What are you doing with your rentals?
One I'm selling, and then I'm re-renting one right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in the process of buying one. It's
yeah,
the math works.
Yeah, and I'll probably start looking for another one, because I talked about this earlier. Where can we park our money? I mean, this is what's going through my mind, right? I'm not as old as you are, but I am 40. And what?
For those of you that don't know, I am 2 weeks older than Mike. 2 weeks. That's it. Anyway.
That's just a joke that keeps on giving. It's so good.
It's just a joke that keeps on giving.
Yeah. But it's like right now I have a little bit of a fear around the stock market, right? I mean, how many weeks have we seen the headline all-time high, all-time high, all-time high? I mean, literally every week, right?
It's like every 60 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Dude, even last week, right? There was a little bit of a bloodbath, a little bit of a sell-off Friday morning. By the afternoon, all-time high. It's like, come on, guys. Like some of these companies, I mean, like price versus earnings, right? For stock, we're looking for values of 8 to, let's say, 20x, right? Yeah. So whatever the earnings are, stock should be trading about 12 times that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's fair and that's safe, right? I'm hard pressed to find a stock right now that's trading below 100x.
Yeah.
And that scares the bejesus out of me in that market.
I know.
It really does. No, it truly does. It really does. And
I know. I think the same thing. I think we still have it. This is why I'm getting back. This is why I'm buying a rental. It's like I think we've got inflation looming around the corner potentially. We've got historically low interest rates. We've got a housing market where you don't have to go multiple offers every time, so it's like kind of leveled off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You've got still a lack of inventory, so there's still a run in front of us, in my opinion. And there's a shortage of places for people to live. It's just so then the other alternative is to park money in the S&P. And I think it's fine, but so I'm buying up some rentals. And it's more than I want to pay for a rental. I had the same sticker shock that any buyer has in our market, but what I realized is that I get, because of interest rates being so low, Mike, I get like 10% extra purchase power. So I'm buying for something for $300,000 because of interest rates. It's like I'm buying something for $270. So
and that's the truth. And I know an article the other day, and I watch a lot of this stuff, and I cannot remember the name of the company, but it really woke me up and it kind of shook me a little bit. It's a big one.
Yeah.
Like they're here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And some put it in there. I think it starts with a B. Don't remember. I don't know why. But institutional investors, for whatever reason, really came to the forefront of the market this year in Q2. A little bit of Q1, but in Q2. And one of the big investors that I cannot remember the name of. So these guys were buying.
BlackRock.
What's that?
BlackRock.
Thank you. There it is, BlackRock. So BlackRock got out of the real estate game for the last 5 to 6 residential real estate game for the last 5 or 6 years because they felt like the market was over inflated, right? And they didn't want to be caught holding the bag. Here we are, beginning of 2021, saying we're going to go back to buying 1,000 ounces a month again. It's like, what just happened? And I'm not calling myself dumb, but I'm going to tell you right now, these guys have economists with more degrees than I can count. They know things that we don't know.
Yeah.
Simply put, right? Like they operate on such a big level at a big scale. So if those guys are jumping back in the market, that's telling me that we are not going to see any sort of real estate crash anytime in the near future.
Well, you hit it on the head, man. It's like these big companies are coming out and spending trillions of dollars to buy residential properties.
Yep. It's craziness. It's craziness. I mean, looking at Zillow. So Zillow now, in 2 markets that I'm aware of, and they don't operate here, but they buy homes, right? So Zillow is a marketing firm, right? That got into the home buying game, right? They're now authorized in 2 separate markets to 10% above value.
Yeah.
Think about that. So if you're in Nashville, right, and you put your home on the market and it's worth $500,000, Zillow's authorized to give you $550 to beat the other guys out. No appraisal, no nothing. That's craziness, right? So between them, and we don't have any of these here in Michigan, but between those guys, Open Door, Knock, OfferPad, all of those different companies, they're at homes a month bought right now.
Yeah.
That's a crazy number. And they're not reselling most of them. They're keeping about half, and then they're reselling about half. Now, what this looks like in the future, and here's my fear, is as an individual homeowner, what does this mean? I mean, and these are just questions. I have no answers on this stuff and no data and this, nothing. But what does this mean 10 years from now, right? Are we going to turn into a land of renters because real estate is simply unavailable? And I'm not kidding. Like, there's a real thing. Think about that. 8,000 homes a month. That's 100,000 homes a year bought right now. 10 years from now, that's 1 million homes additionally owned by institutional investors that will be rentals. 1 million homes, right? And with the run up, right, of the real estate market, which has outpaced wages, as soon as interest rates go up, whenever that happens, all of a sudden affordability is going to go way down. Do we become a land of renters? Because nobody can afford to actually buy.
Yeah.
And this is the stuff that keeps me up at night. And like, okay, 10 years from now, what is this going to look like? And there's no telling, right? There's no telling.
No way to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, at some point, Yeah.
Someone had shared with us the God, one of the agents of the team had shared a chart. Like actually home affordability, at least based on this chart. And home affordability, it's more affordable to buy a home now.
Yep.
Than what it was in 1992.
True.
So I don't know what that means either. Outside of like California and like Idaho or something like that.
No, and you're not wrong. And what my fear is, man, if interest rates go up just 1%, all of that affordability goes away. It really does. It really does.
Yeah. Well, and it has to. I mean,
Yeah. Let me look at I'm actually going to pull up a mortgage calculator because now I'm curious.
See, I'm trying to find some charts. Oh, you're pulling up a mortgage calculator?
Yeah, just on my phone.
I mean, I've got one.
Okay. Yeah, let's pull it up.
Yeah, I mean.
You got one on the screen?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Here, give me a second. Okay. Here, I'll share it. Hold on. Share screen. Here you go. All right, you got me?
I got you. Okay. So there was a home that I saw the other day, and I looked at the history of the home, right?
Yeah.
Previously, it had sold, and I'm going to go with two different examples here. Previously, it had sold, what was it, for $620,000 almost 18 months ago. So let's go 620,000. Let's assume 20% down, whatever that is. And
you want me to do the one where I can compare side by side?
Yeah, let's do that one.
Mortgage comparison. I think this is really cool. All right, go ahead. Six what?
Yep, 620,000.
620. Okay.
And let's go 3% interest rate.
Yeah.
That's what we got 20% down, whatever that looks like, right?
Well, what do you want to do? You want to do 20% down, or you want to do 620?
Yeah, let's.
So that'd be 496.
Okay, 496.
Okay.
That was 18 months ago.
Okay.
The home went on the market and received multiple offers last week, and it went on the market at 750.
Okay, so 750, and then you're going to say 20% down, so that'd be a mortgage of 600. Right?
So that's where real estate prices are now, right? Now let's go on the third box. Let's put that 600, and then let's change that interest rate to where interest rates will probably be in the next year and a half, which is 4.5%.
Okay, so we'll go 4.5.
Yep.
So what do you want to do now? 275?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
Yeah, because 275 is the rate of the day at the moment.
And then what about when did it go for 620? How long ago?
18 months ago, so it would have been about 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the payment used to be $2,100 plus taxes and insurance.
Yep.
Oh, that's on a 15-year. Sorry. The payment is now $2,450 at 30 years, 2.75. And if rates go to 4.5%, the payment's going to shoot to $3,040. It's a $600 a month difference plus taxes and insurance.
So think about that. From 18 months ago, this home, you can buy it 20% down, $100 a month. Right?
Yeah.
18 months from now, and I think real estate prices are going to level off. They'll probably still continue to increase, but at a modest 3 or 4%, not at a 20%. And we're already starting to see that happen in the market right now.
Yep.
But interest rates will most certainly go up as the economy continues to stabilize and get better. Interest rates will probably hit 4.5% again. So this home's cost in 36 months went up $900 a month. 10 grand a year.
Yep.
That
it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
You know,
That's the problem with it.
You know, you bring up a really interesting point too. Like, you bring up a really interesting point too. You said home prices will still go up a modest 3 or 4%.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, that doesn't mean that every single year that your home is going to go up 3 or 4%.
No, that's an average.
Here's what that means. It might like kind of stay the same.
Yeah.
For 3 or 4 years in a row, and then boom, it shoots up by 12%. Like you just don't know. When you look at the averages over the course of 75 years, you know, they end up at 3 and 4%.
Yeah.
So it's like it's
that's a great rate.
Now look, there's no way to so that's a great question. What percent of buyers?
Right, so the statistic is, and this is what most economists work off of, including the gentleman over at NAR, whose name I can never seem to remember. Nice guy. Is at the point the interest rate goes up or down, 8% of home buyers either enter or leave the market because of affordability. So and this leads into why we had this.
What percentage? You broke up. What percentage?
8%.
8% of home buyers enter or leave the market because of affordability.
Yeah, because of
what you're saying is that there's going to be 8%. So 4% of people might get left behind because it becomes unaffordable, and 4% of people might get enough raises or whatever it is, or make more money, and they can go higher. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying 8% just decide not to buy a home.
Got it. Okay, got it. Okay.
So when the interest rates went from 4.25% and they dropped like a rock down to 3%, we added 40% more buyers on top of what was already a hot market.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Tom, it's been a minute. I hope you're well. No, I'm not kidding. We saw that, right? We saw the effects of this. We saw the effects of people. And then there was another compounding effect on the other side with the raising lease rates.
Yep.
Right. I mean, they leases are time high right now. And I don't have any data or charts around that. But I mean, if you just go to Zillow or go to realtor.com and look up leases, I mean, if you're not leasing, if you're a homeowner, I think you'd be shocked at how much homes are being leased for right now. And people are getting them. And people are getting those rates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you see that with the rental that you're picking up right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be a little aggressive with the lease rate. Yeah. And the math works on a conservative number, but I'm gonna try to be aggressive. Yeah.
Well, I remember because you looked at it and you called me up and was like, "Hey, can you take a second look at this? Because I think this might be a little higher than I'm thinking." And the number was surprising. And we even brought another agent in, Wendy, one of the people on our team, and was like, "Hey, can you put a third eyeball on this?" And then it was like, "Okay, yeah, this is $500 a month more."
Well, you hit it right on the head. You and I were kind of going at it conservatively, and we were looking at some past data, and we were going, "Okay, look, this place will rent for $2,400, right? $2,500 maybe." And one of our agents, and truthfully, Mike, she's in the market more than us. I mean, she's going on 3 to 5 listing appointments a week. You know what I mean?
And she's an active investor, and she's been an investor for 20 years, like all of the things, right? So she's a great point person for this kind of a conversation.
He goes, "No, Austin, you're going to get between 3,000 and 32," and I went, "Whoa."
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, so that's another push point for people that are leasing that finally want to make the jump into home ownership.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, just simply put, that is what it is right there.
That wasn't the original question. The original question was, what percent of buyers will get left behind? So you're saying 8% combined.
8% per quarter point.
Here's what I think you're going to see. Look, I just think you're going to see, instead of buying Ferndale, you're going to buy Oak Park. Instead of buying Royal Oak, you're going to buy Clawson. Instead of buying, Well,
and I think some people will go and look at that payment that was $2,100 a month 18 months ago, is $2,400 a month right now, which is, whatever, $300 a month. I mean, it sucks, but it's manageable. Yeah. And what will be $3,000 a month, and say, you know what, I'm either going to hold tight in the home that I'm in because I'm good. Yeah. I don't need to move necessarily. I'll make it work. I'll stretch it. Maybe we'll finish the basement instead. Maybe we'll deal with the fact that we'd like to have 800 more square feet, but we're just not going to do that right now. Or maybe I'll just keep renting because I can now rent at $2,500 a month or $2,800 a month, and this house is not free.
You're saying at some point home prices with interest rates will catch up and payments will catch up to what rents are.
That's it. That's it. And Mark and Tom, if you don't have it, I would download this app.
The Brevity mortgage calculator.
Very specifically the Brevity mortgage calculator. And here's why. There is the second one there, the value of home ownership, right? That's what makes this one unique. And you don't have to have Brevity or use Brevity. He just made it available for everybody. But literally, it goes through and calculates the value of home ownership versus renting, which is so good. So let's say purchase price. That's hard to see. That's not going to work. Purchase price $300,000, down payment 20%, loan terms loan 30 years, and let's go with a 3%. And then average appreciation is penciled in right at 4%. And then you also put your own tax rate in, which let's say 2%, because that's the average. So in year one, there's $12,000 in appreciation. Year one, there's $5,000 in principal balance reduction. Year one, this person would save $1,500 on their taxes. That's what they would get back. And so in summary, in year one, total net worth or gains, $18,000 between appreciation, principal reduction, and taxes.
Yeah,
that's huge. And I got to say, as an agent, I found that calculator very handy, because a lot of people don't know, and frankly, a lot of real estate agents can't calculate swiftly in their head, nor should you. We're not mathematicians. What it actually means to be a homeowner instead of a renter. Right?
You know what's really interesting?
Wealth advantage. Yeah.
Along the same lines, I was watching a video, Grant Cardone. I was watching a Grant Cardone video yesterday, by the way. Really smart guy. And what he was saying is now he was trying to make a bigger point about don't save cash, always invest. Don't sit on your cash, always invest it, always invest it, always invest it, always invest it. And one of the things he was saying is rich people don't even buy homes anymore. They invest it, they invest it. And that was interesting to me.
Well, that right? I mean, he sold off all three versions.
Sure. Well, sure. And I actually think that kind of makes sense. If you're buying a $3 million home, it's you're never going to make money on a $3 million home. You can't, right?
No, just the cost of the maintenance alone is going to negate pretty much everything, right?
Yeah. It's the ownership cost. It's not going to appreciate. It's a lifestyle play. If somebody's going to spend $3 million on a home, oftentimes they're going to build their own, or they want it customized how they want it. It's just I actually, under that example, I kind of agree with him. But for the rest of us, not buying $3 million homes or $2 million homes, because it really, Mike, it really is. I would say the number in Metro Detroit is probably 1 to 1.5. Depending on the area. It's if you're buying something above 1.5, you're probably not going to make money on that house. It's a lifestyle play.
Yeah. I'm gonna repack that a little differently.
You say it differently, yeah.
So there's only about 4 ways to get wealthy or build wealth. I mean, I'm not talking rich, I'm talking wealth in America, right?
Yes. Yeah,
right. I'm not 7'3", so basketball's out.
Basketball's out, dude.
Any kind of sport for that matter, right? I have a lot of hanging on my wall. None of them are Nobel Prizes. They're all for being a really slow runner in, half marathon, right?
Yeah.
So the brain is not where it's going to be. Investing, I'm not Warren Buffett. Wish I was. Am not. I'm not Nebraska. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I am not a YouTube influencer. I'm not, or a TikTok influencer, or any of those things. I mean, I don't understand why people don't want to watch this pretty face, but they don't. So those are the 4 ways other than real estate to really just ramp up wealth. And then you've got real estate, right? And that's it. You got to live somewhere. You're either paying your landlord's mortgage or you're paying your mortgage. You're always paying a mortgage. Pick who it is.
Pick who it is.
That's it. And that's just one man's opinion who's 5'10", Royal Oak, Michigan, a little scruffy.
Yeah.
Yeah. How that works.
That's a little scruffy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Am I wrong? I mean, I'm not going to go.
Yeah. But anyway, so his point was like, the rich people aren't even owning homes. So it's like, but they're not taking into account.
But it's different, right? So you've got, all right. So let's break that down. Let's break that down. All right. So you've got a guy like Tim Cook. We'll take Tim Cook, right?
Now, I don't know Tim personally. Do you?
No, I don't.
Seems like a nice guy.
I don't know if he owns a home or not. He might not. I don't know. But you got a guy like
I'm sure it's public record. Do you want to stalk it down? I'm kidding. All right, keep going.
So Tim Cook could go and buy pretty much whatever house he wants, right? He's a billionaire. Actually, he just became a billionaire. Funny enough.
Him and Rihanna, really kind of side by side, him and Rihanna became billionaires. All right, keep going.
Right. So he can go buy a $300 million house or a $200 million house or a $100 million house or whatever it is, right? Or he can make the smart play and bet on himself. If he had bought a $100 million property last year, it's probably worth about $100 million this year, right?
Yeah.
If he bought into his own confidence and bought Apple stock a year ago, Apple stock's up 32% per year.
Yeah.
Right? So 32% gain on 100 million is 32 million. That leaves you, I mean, even on just the gain alone, that's a fairly nice house. I don't care where you're at, even in California. 32 million gets you a nice pad, right? So I understand where it's coming from, and I don't know if all those opportunities are necessarily available for us. As a side note, Tim Cook did receive a $750 million bonus yesterday. That was his bonus.
How much?
$750 million.
Mike, you and I need to renegotiate.
Is what it is.
It is what it is. Shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you even imagine as a bonus? Good for him.
I could not imagine. I couldn't imagine. I mean, what would one even do? Like at one point in time, when it is enough with the money, right?
Isn't that the interesting question? That's not a political question, by the way. That's like a
no. It's not. It's a because I've got a number in my head where I want to be, where once I hit that number, I can be like, you know what? I don't need to worry about it anymore. If I don't want to work today, I can actually not work today. And if it's a little bit, it doesn't matter because I'm at that number.
Yeah.
You know, I can make that choice of you know, my parents are not getting any younger, right?
Yeah.
My new niece is not getting any younger.
Yeah.
Right. And if I wanted to, I could literally be like, you know what? I'm going to jump on like, this is where I want to be. Be able to say, you know what? I want to jump on a plane with a business class ticket because that 18-hour flight is no fun in economy. I'll tell you that right now. Did that in my younger years and just be there for a month.
Yep.
Right. Because the definition of wealth is being able to do what you want with whom you want for as long as you want.
When you want to do it. Yep.
Yeah. So going back to the Tim Cook side of it, you know, he just got a $750 million bonus. The first thing I would do is throw my papers in. Like, my resignation's going in. I'm out.
Yeah.
Because I can live my best life off of a fraction of that number.
Here's the thing, though. You could make that argument with any amount of money. It's just it's if you want to have a big life, you got to fall in love with the process, not the money. And that's what it is. You guys are in love with the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about the process. It's like it's money. Money is not a leading indicator. Money is a lagging indicator. So it's like if you're not making the money you want or you're not where you want in your life, you got to reevaluate what you're doing every day, what your habits are, it's like. So those guys are so in love with the process. That's why they can't step off the train. It's not even about money.
No, it's not. And you know, we were having that conversation earlier, right?
Yeah.
You know, where I had two conversations with two different people, one yesterday, one today, both actually in very similar situations with family and setup and the kid situation, all of that. And they both gave me slightly different numbers as to what they need. But one's like, hey, at this number, I'm strapped. I'm barely making ends meet. And the other one at a number that was actually a little bit lower is like, oh my gosh, I get to invest in real estate. I get to put money away for college. I get to put money for my kid. I get to, put money into my retirement fund. It's just so interesting how different those two conversations were.
Yeah.
I actually walked away with that sense.
It's kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Lifestyle creep is an interesting thing. They actually say that's one of the risks. Like, you always read these articles about how much money should you have saved in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s. And things that we don't realize oftentimes because we're so used to. I don't know if females are the same way, but I know men are. It's like you think of your prime earning years. So I think sometimes men, we equate it to like that 28 range because we look at pro athletes. It's like when you think about a pro athlete in their prime, it's like, I don't know what the ages are, 27 to 32, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the world, for you and I, for women, it's like a little bit younger, but not much. But for you and I, our prime earning years are like between 45 and 55.
Yeah.
Which is really crazy. So by the way, if you're younger than that number and not making the money that you want to be making right now, it's like trust the process.
Yeah.
Focus on learning and make yourself better and trust the process and just keep getting better. And the compounding effect of that over time will add up. At least that's the conversation I have with myself all the time. It's like that 45 to 55 is when we actually hit our prime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
and I popped into the chat, just Choose FI, which is a great Facebook group. It's like a Dave Ramsey on steroids.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So good. It's very next level. Actually have a couple of the books that the group kind of put out. But if this is my challenge for anybody watching, jump into that Facebook group. There's a lot of interesting chatter about saving. And one of the things that was a very big takeaway for me is like, you've got a couple of young kids in there, like 22, 24, 26 years old. And like one guy's like, oh my gosh, I'm putting away this much money into these accounts and I'm doing these things and stuff like that. And one person's like, how much are you actually living on? The guy's like, I'm living on $14,000 a year. And like the group just jumped on him, was like, you got to go live your life, man. I mean, it's great that you're putting $40,000 away a year, but you still have to live your life.
Go live your life.
Yeah. And then that kind of conversation turned really interesting to your point, lifestyle creep. You gotta stop and evaluate each thing. Do I really need the Starbucks coffee? Is the Starbucks coffee the thing that I really love about my morning? And it could be. And if it is, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it, right? That $5, if the $5 Starbucks, if you go there, you pick up the newspaper, you have your 20 minutes set, and this is your way to set your mind for the day. If this is your deal, then do it. But if it's just another cup of coffee, like for me, it's just another cup of coffee. You'll never catch me in a Starbucks, ever. Because
Dude,
to me,
you're wrong. I love Starbucks.
Man, I'm telling you right now, the 30 cents cup of coffee that makes it good. My Folgers medium blend tastes the same to me.
Anyhow, so you get into one of the mistakes that people make getting into their 40s is allow that lifestyle creep, just like he's saying.
Yeah.
I don't know that Starbucks every morning is going to make a big difference. Like that's $100 a month, right?
Oh,
I know you can make the argument $100 a month.
Okay. Is that what we're doing?
Mike, look, I hate to do this to you. I hate to pull this card. Can I just pull the Trump card? It's like you don't have kids. It's like you don't know how quickly $100 disappears. That's not what's killing people on the lifestyle creep. It's not.
What I'm saying is you got to evaluate and make the choice. And I
sure.
example for everything.
Sure.
Right. So every piece of it, you got to stop and say, okay, am I really getting the satisfaction?
Sure.
Versus,
I think the same way. Like people that when folks, and now by the way, spend your money on what you want, but it's like folks that buy these like giant Cadillac Escalades with all the bells and the whistles and the whole thing. It's like It's like,
That's too much.
he's over here lecturing us on Starbucks.
Yeah.
He's over here lecturing us on Starbucks. I'm teasing, man.
I know. But I mean, but to your point, right? So I'll use that example. Make sure it's something you really actually enjoy.
For sure. And you do enjoy that car.
I mean, like if you're like I can't tell you how many. I mean, we've all done this, right? We've all popped on Amazon and been like, hey, that's kind of nice. Click, buy, ship, done. There, goes on a shelf. Never to be heard from again.
Oh, you've been to my house.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like I mean, it's all of our houses, right?
Can I tell you about a funny conversation we've had over the last 2 weeks in my house? My wife was walking around the house. She goes, I just want to start throwing things out. We have so much stuff. And I went, jumping on this opportunity.
That's right. Right.
You know, sweetie, sometimes I think that whenever we're ordering something on Amazon.
Nice.
Now that went over like a fart in church.
Yeah.
But, but it's true though. We do. It's like, man, the internet is an efficient
Yes, it is.
tool. Like, think about, how about this? Let's compare service merchandise. Remember that store?
Oh yeah.
To the internet. Here's the way you bought things at service merchandise. You went and you picked out your item and you scanned it, and then you had to go pick up the item at a service desk. You had to like stand there for 20 minutes and wait for them to bring your item out. Versus the internet
or whatever. Yeah.
Click.
Yeah.
Shows up on your doorstep the next day.
Oh, like, even better, dude. Okay.
Yeah.
We had that torrential downpour yesterday, which was really, really bad here. It was 12:30.
It was crazy.
Oh, dude, it was crazy. And I'm like, shoot, where's my umbrella? Oh, it's in the truck, of course, which that does me no good when I'm standing in the house, right?
Yeah.
I literally popped up my phone. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have a house umbrella. I'm going to have a car umbrella. That's what I'm going to do. Went to Amazon, ordered a second umbrella. It was here at 5 o'clock.
So you didn't even have to go outside. You just waited for Amazon to bring your new umbrella.
I just waited for the umbrella. And then no, I did go.
Sorry, it ain't the Starbucks cup of coffee that's getting you. I know what point you're trying to make, but yeah, it's hard.
It's just anything, right? It's my opinion. You just got to look at it before you hit the buy button. Say, okay, this is X amount of dollars. Am I going to get that much enjoyment out of this, or should this go towards something different where I will get that amount of enjoyment, which for you could be Starbucks versus something else?
Yeah.
You know. So there's that today, guys.
God, what a winding path we went down today, huh?
Oh, we went all over the place. We went all over the place. Yeah, and come to find out, I was really hoping to find out whether or not Jerome Powell was going to be reappointed yesterday, and I still don't know. I didn't watch the speech. I was going to watch it. He was out in Jackson Hole doing his thing. I'll have an update next week on that.
Have you ever been to Jackson Hole?
I haven't, but I go. But you ever see the movie Silicon Valley? Or not the movie, the TV show?
No.
They make a big deal about Jackson Hole. Like
people love Jackson Hole. I don't know anything about it. It's big for skiing, right?
I don't know. I think it's big for like rich economic people. Like that's my understanding, or like tech CEOs or the technocrats or any of those guys.
It's a ski thing, and then it's a ski thing.
Yeah, see, I've got nothing, no indication on whether or not he's going to reappoint Jerome Powell, which I think is a good move, personally, mainly because both sides don't like
it. I like that when both sides don't like a guy. Let's put that in. Yeah. Yeah,
it's just really interesting, like how much he's fired up both sides with some of his policy choices, right? And I got to admit, he made some really nice ones and really good ones during the pandemic that really shored up our economy. Not going to lie. I mean, there were some things where I scratched my head at it, but then in retrospect, I was like, oh, yeah, that actually made a lot of sense.
Like what?
Well, right before the pandemic, I don't know if you remember this, but him and President Trump got into just massive debates over lowering interest rates, right? Because the president wanted lowering. Rome was pushing back and saying, nope, this is an amazing economy. We need the interest rates to pump the brakes just a little bit, because what goes up must come down. If something, the economy is like a phoenix, right? If it flies too close, or like Icarus, if you fly too close to the sun, you're going to burn your rings off and crash back to the ground. And we've seen that happen 20 times in U.S. history, where ramp ups happen and then crash, ramp ups and crash. And part of what kind of the bumpers of the bowling alley, part of what we can do with that is the interest rates, right? The economy gets superheated. If we raise interest rates just a little bit, businesses will stop lending. They will stop. And with businesses not taking advantage of expansion or projects or things like that, that means that they're not employing people anymore, which sounds bad, but they're coming where we're overemployed, and we're getting back to that right now, right? And what I mean by that is, look at just contractors in general. We can't find people to do work. We just can't. In our business, in many businesses, the struggle is real, right? So he pushed back on the president on dropping interest rates, which allowed him to drop interest rates immediately once we saw that turn with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right? I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Nobody could have predicted the pandemic, but we can predict that something was going to go awry with the economy. We were due. We were coming off the largest economic expansion in U.S. history. Literally, something had to give.
I honestly can't believe they haven't raised interest rates.
Europe is looking at it right now. So that's something I've been monitoring.
What didn't South Korea is the first nation, first kind of major economic nation that's done it. Yeah. I can't believe they haven't done it.
Yep, South Korea just did. Europe is looking. The European Union is looking at raising interest rates potentially 1/4 to 1/2 point by the end of the year, and I really want to see how that plays out. And I think he's kind of just sitting on the fence, waiting for that as well, and the Delta variant and whatever's going to happen with that, of course.
Yeah.
Right. We're at that point. It's been, I don't know, 6 or 7 days. What that new jobs and labor report looks like, right? We saw a monstrously amazing report this last month. It literally dropped from 5.4% unemployment to 5.1% in 30 days, 925,000 jobs added. The expectation is there's going to be another 600,000 jobs added, which puts us either into or very close to the 4s for unemployment, which means we're there. We're right where we need to be. That's a great economy right there. Because anywhere between, and to preface, between 4 and 6% unemployment is considered full employment, because there are a certain number of people that just choose not to work.
Yeah. Really interesting thing, and I won't give away too much because I don't know what I'm allowed to say and not say. But my wife works for a major company in all 50 states. And one of the things that we've been talking about is, like, once they stop giving away kind of government aid, the unemployment rate, people will start going back to work a little bit more.
We'll have to go back to work.
And their experience has been not that. Their experience has been they still cannot find employees, even in states where they've stopped giving out aid. And so another reason why I'm buying rental properties, by the way, Mike, I think we're due for a wage increase. It's just tug and pull. If you're an employer and you need to get employees, or you can't grow your business, and you can't dangle, you've already seen it at the fast food restaurants. You can't dangle $11 an hour and get them to work. You got to bump up to 13, 14, 15. And so I think there's going to be a lot of $20 an hour jobs that end up paying 25 and 25 to 30. I think we're going to see it. And what do I know? But if it's either going to be that or you go out of business, like, what do? You know what I mean?
And you know what? The answer, I think, might be, for some people, go out of business.
Maybe.
A couple of closed up restaurants right around. I've got a couple of places that just, Library Pub in Novi, right? Standard Novi staple for 40 years.
Did Library Pub go out of business?
They stopped. So now they're back open, but they didn't reopen until last month because of the staff. And they had the Novi location itself now opened up the Commerce location or whatever that is off of Haggerty, West Bloomfield Commerce in June, and then they just reopened in July the Novi one. But it took until this long to reopen those two restaurants because they just couldn't find the people. Come to find out, Fifth Avenue and Novi is reopening.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I got you back. So come to find out, Fifth Avenue and Novi is reopening, which after 10 years closed or whatever it is, 8 years closed.
It's such a cool venue.
Oh, it's a really cool venue.
Such a cool venue.
We're doing a video on.
It's a weird location though. That's the problem.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a cool venue with the upstairs and the patio.
Cool venue.
So we're doing.
We should do a meeting there.
Yeah, that's a great point. So we're doing a video on Novi right now, right? And Carl and I literally was driving by and I caught the sign, the new sign, at the corner of my eye. I was like, whipped it around, pulled over, went in, and one of the managers is just sitting there doing the paperwork and stuff like that or whatever he's doing. And I'm like, hey, I didn't know you guys are reopened. He's like, oh no, we're not reopened. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, we wanted to open 90 days, 120 days ago, but I can't find anybody to bartender serve. So they're literally sitting there just building expenses because they may own the building, they may be renting the building, but any way you put it, you either paying rent or utilities. I mean, he's not going to be able to sit there forever. Whoever owns that now, and just which is crazy. Yeah. It's hard. People unemployment and everything being horrible on that side. But I'm going to tell you right now, I live in Royal Oak. Almost every single shop I walk by, it's help wanted, help wanted, help wanted, help wanted.
Everywhere.
Yeah. The McDonald's on the corner, they're offering a $500 sign-on bonus. That sign's been out there again.
Yeah, most of those places won't even open the dining room. It's like, they got 2 people running an entire restaurant.
I went to breakfast the other day, and that's exactly what happened. Right? The guy was
like, there forever, I'm sure.
Yeah. He's like, I'm the server. My cook didn't show up. My host didn't show up. I called the owner of the restaurant. They're an hour away, so I can seat 3 tables. I can take your orders, and then I'm going to go back. I'm not kidding. I'm like, okay, dude. And he got a very large tip because, I mean, that's awesome. Going up.
Well, that's just it. The people that are working are making.
Yeah, that's true.
It's wild. I've got a neighbor his best friend owns a couple of liquor stores. It's like he can't keep them staffed, but good Lord, he's making a lot of money.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right, you want to tie it, bro?
Let's do it. So we've got lumber prices coming down. We've got oil prices coming down. We've got unemployment virtually non-existent again. We've got
interest rates still low.
Interest rates still low. Housing prices starting to taper off their increases, which was anticipated. We talked about this a couple months ago. This was going to happen about
We've been talking about it for a while.
We've got buyers that could not buy 3 months ago because they're getting outbid. If you're one of those people, get back in the market. Today's the day. Now's the time.
Still getting great prices on your listings. Less bidding wars. By the way, if you're selling your home, if you're selling your home and you're not getting offers, your price too high.
That's it. That's all it is right now.
Your price too high.
Yep.
Anyhow, housing starts, 708,000 increase in housing starts.
Yep. It's happening.
It's happening.
I was on a run the other day, and I haven't seen a new home anywhere. And I run pretty much my entire square mile, every street. I haven't seen a new home being built here in Royal Oak in my square mile in a while. And I'll tell you right now, John Farhat's got 4 going up.
Yep.
4 of them. 4 of them he's demoing and building right now.
Yep.
It's craziness.
It's crazy.
It's happening.
Okay. Hey, as always, just in case we don't say it, we're families helping families, and we're humbled. We're appreciative of all the people that do business with us. Thank you. And thanks for taking the time and spending it with us. We'll see you next week. And appreciate you, Mike. Good job today.
Absolutely. Appreciate you too. Thank you.
See you guys.
Have fun.